Wow! That is relatable!
Let's dance.
And I think we can get started.
So I was rewatching the 2017 Stephen King It movie, and I saw a joke I never even realized. There's a part where they refer to Pennywise's house as a crackhead house, and he has the most fucking offended look on his face. Like, he fucking looks at the kid like, seriously?
What I was going to say about Todd Howard.
Oh, yeah.
I had a dream I met Todd Howard at the White House, and that he was asking me about Elder Scrolls 6, or like what my thoughts were on Elder Scrolls 6, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to pre-order it. I know that Fallout 76 was a flop, but I got faith in your main team. And like I'm just like gushing about Elder Scrolls. I don't remember what happened after that. I want to say he like his mouth opened up wide and he ate me or something like weird like that, but I don't remember exactly.
I like
a couple nights ago.
Imagine sitting in the middle of a shrine. He's like, and now I have entered the dream weave.
Mm-hmm.
Also, that is a really highbrow Elder Scrolls reference I should be proud of, but I'm also not.
Huh. I saw that Vinesauce Jolie started playing Morrowind, which I haven't played Morrowind myself, but it looks really interesting.
Morrowind is the most interesting of the Elder Scroll games. Skyrim has the best gameplay, and Oblivion has the best quests.
So what's the name of that writer who like set the bedrock and thinks that
Kirkbride.
Right. Like the one thing I think of when I think about him is the whole Dragon Breath is math equations or whatever.
Dude, it is fucking weird because Elder Scrolls is technically a sci-fi setting if you use as canon.
I mean, I can see Todd like tying it in somehow to Fallout, like if that's the case.
Fuck, it's for the fucking Vault. The Vault-Tec became the dwarves.
And like the fact that the final boss of Fallout 76 is literally a dragon.
Oh yeah, that's stupid.
Yeah. Do you think like they're gonna stick with Fallout 76 being canon, or do you think they're gonna?
I think it should be like how you ever hear a tale of a low live down in Virginia? Why you talk like that? I got an impediment. They have fucking dragons, and it's just the myths and legends of a wasteland.
Yeah, I can see them like sort of sticking with Fallout 76 or like referencing it in a future Fallout game.
It's got good monsters.
Yeah, well, just out of spite, they're probably gonna like say, well, we did this because like that's kind of what Todd's attitude was last E3 was when he brought up 76. He's like, we didn't do very well, but we're gonna try.
You still bought it.
Yeah, you still bought it, and you're gonna buy our next thing, aren't you?
They should just stick to being mobile developers for a while.
Hey, you said Blades is good.
Yeah. It's really fun because it's almost the same character creator as Oblivion, which got me giggling. Yeah, I also learned the game expects you to be good swordplay, but I just kept whacking things about it. You know what I hope gets announced? A new Metal Gear Rising. Or an HD Metal Gear Rising.
Keep dreaming. I mean, how's Konami doing in terms of finances? That's a big question.
God, I just want. Do you know why I want an I want Metal Gear Rising on a Switch, to be honest. Imagine motion controls of that shit.
Neat.
And you can have all the DLCs in there, and you can have a fucking Mario Super Raiden.
Oh yeah.
Put him in Smash, Raiden in Smash. There's no really Metal Gear assist trophies, are there?
There's Gray Fox.
Oh yeah. But Matt, you could probably just take some of his moves and make it Raiden. And his final smash is, I'm fucking invincible, and Sundowner appears. But we have to stop talking about good things, I think.
Yeah, I brought up, this was just something I thought of on the fly when I was sitting on the toilet, was, which, ties into what we're about to talk about, is old webcomics. And I actually went back through, there's this website called the Bad Webcomics Wiki, which is how I've managed to retain knowledge of all these webcomics. Because a lot of these I didn't read when they were at the height of their popularity. The only ones, like the thing is, I wasn't really that big into webcomics, or at least ones that I remember. Because all the ones that, the only ones that I still remember like being a fan of were like all the Bleed Man, Snafu comics. Like Grim Tales, Powerpuff Girls, Sugar Bits, kind of.
I was only really into one webcomic. I think it was called Alien Loves Predator. It It has there's one joke I remember from it very clearly.
Mm-hmm.
It's where they have the alien is trying to get the predator to lick a pig so he doesn't get swine flu. They lick the pig, and the predator's girlfriend walks in.
Mm-hmm. Another good one was Concerned, the Gmob webcomic.
Oh.
I don't know if I ever showed you that, but
No.
it was like this comic made entirely with Gary's models, and it was actually really, really well written. It's like the guy who wrote it also went on to do like this sort of blog set in Oblivion, where I don't know if it's a mod or if it's a feature in the game, vanilla, but where he's like playing as an NPC, where he doesn't go on the main quest and he just like lives like this ordinary life in Cyrodiil. And like I remember it being really interesting, like just him. Like there's a part where he's talking about how, because like he just sets like the speed, like the walk speed, just regular walk speed. But like he's saying how like how like you don't really get to take in the scenery when you're just rushing from point A to point B.
That's something I learned in Breath of the Wild. I shut off the pro version of the menu, so it's literally just your health. Holy shit, is the game beautiful.
Oh yeah.
It's even more so. Mm-hmm. It's even more beautiful when you're like, wow, look at that man, a fucking lion comes over, the rape train has arrived.
But yeah, like I'm getting a little sidetracked because a lot of these webcomics aren't really all that interesting. And I kind of realized that like not today, but like the last time I went to the Bad Webcomics wiki, how a lot of these people got so riled up about like the poor quality of these comics, being like, "Oh, this comic sucks, I hate it," and that was kind of like indicative of old internet culture.
Yeah, like once a nostalgia critic set the precedent. No, angry video game nerds set the precedent.
Yeah, and everybody else like sort of ran that into the ground because they couldn't really innovate on it.
And that's why I like new angry video game nerd. He's more, his anger has become jadedness.
Mm-hmm. Like the one webcomic that first came to my mind was, of course, Control-Delete, because Lost refuses to die, ironically.
I decided to look at the first couple of issues.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you,
Hey, we're not your average webcomic.
We have a watermelon as a third person, which is a reference to Penny Arcade, how it's like, we're just two guys sitting on a couch. Like, how can we innovate? And it's like, here's a watermelon they drew a funny face on. That's
and they did dial-up humor.
Oh yeah, that's right. Like this was back in, it wasn't 99. It was like 2002, 2003, because Penny Arcade debuted in 1999.
I did dial-up. I had dial-up, and it's not funny. It's war scars.
Yeah. Yeah, only real gamers remember going on to coolmathgames.com.
There was actually one really cool game on there. It was, you played as like a fucking rectangle and you had to get to a hole and jump inside. Mm-hmm. But if you fell, you had to think like that. And I always got stuck on a third level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yeah, like people still talk about Control-Delete, not just Lost, but like I'll see like panels from like the final comic.
That's where Lost comes from?
Yeah.
Oh fuck! I was like, why does this one douchey character look so fucking familiar?
Mm-hmm. That's Ethan. That's the name of the character in the comic. Yeah, Ethan. I had to think about that for a minute.
He seriously tried to make a miscarriage plot point,
and that actually happened to him in real life. His girlfriend had a miscarriage, so like he wrote that sincerely into the comic, and that's why people like. And it was so poorly executed that people have not stopped mocking him ever since.
I'm glad he didn't start the convention. Can you imagine the fucking CAD convention? People are hundreds of people climb into a human pyramid version of Lost.
Oh, that would be great. I would trade packs for CAD in an instant.
God, you're only allowed in there if you can identify the correct Lost format.
Yeah, you have to draw the lines. Like, yeah, that's like the alien civilizations from now are just gonna like look at that like some sort of ancient hieroglyph that they don't know.
It's a holy symbol.
Yeah, yeah. Depending on how you look at it.
If someone blow up Mount Rushmore and leave the remains in the shape of Lost.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if there's a lot else you can say really about CAD other than
he did have a couple kids since.
Yeah. That sounds about right. I don't really keep up with him. I don't really keep up with a lot of these.
Yeah, it's
comic
the art
creators.
style's even kind of boring. I'd say.
I mean,
it's generic. What would you say?
Well, after the Lost era, he sort of actually tried to improve his art skills, and there is improvement, but not a lot. Early on, there's a lot of copy paste template stuff.
I
remember
know.
there's a video of him like on his huge $2,000 Cintiq, and he opens up a tab in this art program, and it's just like a row of eyes, and he just drags and drops that onto a face.
Oh, did that fucking piss you off?
A little bit. At the time, I think I was it's I'm always learning. I'm always trying to improve my art, and I want to say actually when I first saw that, I'm like, oh, that seems like a great way to cheat. Because I get frustrated with my art, and now I'm like, the frustration makes you stronger.
It's
It's like what you say about DL or dial-up battle scars.
yeah, it reminds me of something I read in the Dungeons and Dragons manual. He who uses the lash does not receive it, and that's useful somehow.
Yeah. I don't remember I don't remember reading Penny Arcade that much.
Did they do were they more out there skits?
Yeah.
Wasn't there one of Mario the Companion Cube?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I remember that. I had a bunch of those actually. I've realized I had a bunch of those saved on an old laptop. I saved my favorite memes.
Oh yeah, and Gamer Comics, they loved to spam Portal memes. Like the cake is a lie. That was 10 webcomics a day would do that same joke.
Do you think Portal regrets that? The devs?
Oh, they refused to acknowledge that in Portal 2, except in an Easter egg, I think you mentioned once.
Maybe?
Yeah, I think that there was one really well hidden Easter egg in Portal 2 that referenced the cake, but they just completely sidestepped that in the sequel.
Portal's humor and how people receive it remind me of how some animals will mimic human behaviors rapidly and constantly. Some monkeys will see humans drinking alcohol and now they're alcoholics.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to put it. The other one in that sort of gamer guy humor is the only last one I thought of was Snafu Comics. They the guy who owns the site. He initially had his own Penny Arcade ripoff sort of comic, which really wasn't all that interesting. The only reason I remember it is because it was on the front page of the site.
Was it good?
No. It was obviously it was worse than Penny Arcade. I remember there was this one joke that they did when the Watchmen movie came out, and there was it was a sort of this misinterpretation joke where one of the two main guys comes back from watching the movie and he's like, I went to go see Watchmen. He's like, what, you watch men? And it's like, oh yeah, well, they even got the blue penis right. Wait, who blue penis? It's grown humor like that.
I think that's why I stopped watching Robot Chicken.
Yeah, I remember
very good Robot Chicken skits.
I remember the early seasons were funny. I think I only watched up until the 4th season. But,
I think the joke that killed it for me was when they did the Robot Chicken Star Wars.
Yeah, those were a little kind of like the Family Guy Star Wars, where it's a little excessive.
You know what they should have done? Since the Family Guy, they should have done some really high art film, like The Man Who Laughs, but it's completely done by Steph MacFarlane.
Well, I mentioned to you before, how I wish that Hideki Anno would direct the last season of Family Guy.
I don't remember that, but I do love that idea so fucking much. There should be just a frame of Stewie holding Brian by the neck with a giant metal arm, and it just holds on it for 20 seconds.
Yeah, but I hear once in a while, there's at least 1 or 2 episodes per season with Family Guy, which I guess is the same thing with Simpsons, where there's 1 or 2 episodes per season that's really good or pretty good.
Wasn't there supposed to be a really good one where Brian died?
That wasn't a good one.
Oh.
The one you might be thinking of is Brian and Stewie, which is where they're locked in a vault.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah. I didn't see that one, but that's the one I always hear about as being the one really good Modern Family Guy episode.
Oh, man.
Another webcomic that came to my mind when I was trying to jog my memory was Bittersweet Candy Bowl, which was it was this I guess, furry comic. It wasn't like a furry fetish comic though. It was just anthropomorphic cats and dogs, I guess, like sort of a slice of life thing. It's kind of like furry Degrassi in a way, because it's like this sort of drama, like this drama comic, but with all these relationship issues. But it's all like
I'm just
furry.
picturing Drake as a bulldog, just like in a.
Where it's like he has like the belts with because like that's what like the dogs have with like the wheels,
Yeah.
that, like where they have their legs
He's got the
amputated.
belt and he's just dragging his legs limply on the ground.
That reminds me, like there's this I remember this Cartoon Network pilot called like My Freaky Family, where it's like it was like during the like those times on like once a year they'd have like a short showcase for kids to vote on,
Yeah.
and one of them like it's this like normal girl and like this family of like circus performers, or like not like that, but like really crazy and quirky people. But like, and like her dog is like has that just like wheels for hind legs.
Oh, that always gets me a little sad when I see it.
I hope that or I'm wondering if somebody on YouTube is like archived all these like
I
shorts.
would imagine so.
Yeah, like I miss what a cartoon. That's what I grew up with.
Wasn't there a Sasquatch one on there? I remember there was one of those like Sasquatches.
Sounds familiar. I don't know that. I don't know if that was.
Wasn't that where My Teenage Robot came from?
That was oh yeah, cartoons.
Oh, what the fuck? Why did everyone have like a short like vaudevillian showcase?
Yeah, like well, that was Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network. I mean,
And
it was,
Disney Channel had one too.
yeah, I don't remember the name of that.
I think that was What a Cartoon.
No, What a Cartoon was Cartoon Network. All this valuable space in my brain is reserved for remembering facts about cartoons from the 90s.
God. Also, one of those gave rise to the animated. The guy who wanted to do the fucking kids are parents are kids.
Oh yeah, that was a Nickelodeon one. That was Shorty McShort Shorts.
Yeah, Shorty makes short shorts, and there's the guy who reviews cartoons.
Yeah, Mr. Enner.
Mr. Enner.
That's the reason I remember the name of it.
Holy fuck! My brain just melted out of my face for a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as I rag on him, I genuinely hope that he gets his cartoon off the ground.
Same.
So that we can all ridicule it and shit on it when it comes out.
And then it becomes an inspiration to another comic guy on YouTube many years down the line.
Yeah. Don't do this, or else you'll turn.
It's like Stephen King's It. Every 27 years, they have to remind themselves of the evil will return.
Let's see, another one. Oh yeah, Tom Preston. So you're a cartoonist. I actually saw WEBCOMICS on Twitter. She was talking about Tom Preston or Andrew Dobson. Tom Preston is actually his pseudonym. But she brought him up again for I can't remember why, but that's sort of what made me remember him. Like, I mean, he's always kind of in the back of my head.
Is he that his avatar is the bear?
Yeah, the blue bear guy.
I remember him being a complete fucking idiot.
Yeah, he does not take criticism well or at all. That's kind of what caused that sort of downward spiral with him. Is just like him lashing out at people who are saying, maybe you should do it this way. Maybe like your joke doesn't really work. Kind of falls flat.
That's the kind of person that I can't fucking stand.
Yeah, he's probably the person that helped me sort of realize, that criticism is a good thing. Like don't be a dick towards your detractors, I guess. Unless they're like really trying to get at you, in which case just ignore them. But if like somebody actually gives you some advice and says, like your line work doesn't look good, you need to work on your anatomy, like you have to listen to them. If it sounds like valid criticism, then they're probably right, or something like that.
Yeah, and even if they're not right, maybe they have a point of view you don't have.
Yeah. There's a really good video by Forever Pandering. She's a Ken Ashcorp's pseudonym or whatever. He deleted it off his original channel, but it's still archived. It's called "Why People Hate Tom Preston." No, like it's something like sins of a incompetent artist or something like that. Mm-hmm. But it's still on YouTube. It's a really good really brief sort of summation of everything that Tom Preston did wrong. And this was made back in like 2012, I think. It might have been.
I heard
than
he's
that.
gotten worse.
Yeah. Like, nobody really gives a shit about him anymore.
I will say one thing. I used to get his name mixed in my head with the elf from the Harry Potter, Dobby.
Yeah.
Now I'm just picturing Dobby doing the fucking inflation comic shit.
Yeah, that is one of the names that people call him to piss him off or whatever. But there's a point that Ken Ashcorp made about in his video where he says something like, like years from now, people aren't going to give a shit about you, and you'll be back at square one with no subscribers. And that's where he is right now, like exactly. Because
Does he have a Patreon?
I think so.
Can I make one last Harry Potter joke? Master has given Dobby a subscription.
Yeah, don't donate to Tom Preston. Donate to Chris Chan if you're gonna donate to a webcomic artist who's terrible. But
There's oh wait, never mind.
like what?
I was about to say there's another web artist, and you said it's terrible. I'm like, oh fuck.
See, another name I wrote down was The Watch, which I don't know why I remember this webcomic. There's really nothing all that interesting about it, other than like this sort of it's a sort of gender bender fetish comic where it's like it's sort of like a secret magic high school thing, but at one point it turns into that like fetishy stuff when like the jock bullies get turned into cheerleader girls by the wizard character or witch character girl.
I see.
And there's actually a spin-off comic about like the cheerleader girl, boy, whatever it is.
The girls.
Yeah, and like you sort of start to see these cracks forming where the author is just inserting this fetish into his or her, I guess, because like the name of the artist is Anonymous. So like I wonder if that's a pseudonym. Probably, maybe, I don't know.
Anonymous could be a Greek name. Anonymous, the Greek hero who fought the fucking thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really. Like, I think I checked in on it like a couple months ago. I think it's still going. I don't really care about where it's gone since then, but I guess it's like they've stayed the course. I guess the art's gotten a little bit better. The person in charge hired an artist because his work at the beginning was really terrible. It looked like it was done in MS Paint almost.
There's some good MS Paint artists out there.
Tails Gets Trolled, I think, is the one I always look at. Oh, that reminds me. I don't know if I brought up before Shag and Scoob. There's a webcomic. It's on Webtoon right now, but it's sort of in the same vein as Tails Gets Trolled, where it's about Shaggy and Scooby from Scooby-Doo, and they sort of go on these like misadventures with a lot of like blood and horror elements to it. And at one point, it becomes like an action shonen sort of comic, which makes me think of Tails Gets Trolled. Except, like, Tails Gets Trolled, I think it does it a little bit better. Like, the art's better in...
It's like the New Adventures of Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
But with more blood and gore.
Yeah. Where, like, Scooby's, like, a psychopath who's always carries a gun and wants to shoot people.
Ruh-roh, I gotta unload a cab on these fuckers' ass.
I mean, basically. The art's better in Shag and Scoob, but I think that takes away from the charm that Tails Gets Trolled had. And Tails Gets Trolled has way better
wonky
writing.
art can give a lot of character to a comic or
Yeah.
a piece of things.
Yeah.
Imagine Warhammer 40k if everyone wasn't covered in skulls and armor and bones and had a fucking cross and angels on it.
Uh-huh. Just picture in like Tumblr art where like they take off their helmet and they got like the big red noses.
I fucking hate that.
Uh-huh.
I hate that, but I found out Dungeons and Dragons made fun of that. They found out apparently a guy had a stick with an artist, so he made a joke that hobgoblins have really bright red noses, and half hobgoblins still have those bright red noses. I can't unfucking see it.
Even Tom Preston sort of made fun of it because like one of his character, I guess there's like a bar scene where one of the characters has a red nose and he's like, "Oh, I'm just drunk." It wasn't phrased like that though. It, like his punchline was like dragged out for like 2 or 3 panels. It's just like. Like, he's really bad with timing. It's another thing.
Horror and comedy have something very, very tightly in common. You work to have a punchline and you don't let it get away from you.
I used to think of Shadman, like when he tried doing comedy comics at the beginning, like he got his timing right, but it was sort of like you could see it coming, and when it happened, it's like, oh, well, that's it, I guess. It like some of his funniest comics are where you're obviously where your expectations are subverted.
Like the 5 black guys and the little girl.
I was about to bring that up. Yeah,
that is probably the funniest webcomic I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, it works so well because of Shadman's reputation. It's like I remember reading it up until like the second to last panel. I'm like, oh, well, I can see where it's gonna go. I don't really need to read the rest. But then I look back at it, I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually really funny.
God.
And there's also it's either that or like when he pushes it so far, it's so offensive that it becomes funny, like the Hillary Clinton one.
I don't remember that one.
It's where she goes through like age regression therapy and becomes Hillary Clinton, and she gets raped by Donald Trump, and it's like it was actually made before the election, so now it's even funnier.
Oh my fucking god, he's psychic.
Mm-hmm.
He sits on the throne of anime sex dolls.
Or I was gonna say a throne of skeleton penises.
That's even better.
Yeah. The last ones I was going to bring up, last comics I was going to bring up was Sinfest, which I was checking here at the library. They used to have a trade paperback of I think the first or second volume, and Sinfest is one that people always say, oh, it was a lot better when it first started out, because as it went on, it went from being like this sort of sex comedy to being like just straight up feminist propaganda. I almost said it again.
Propaganda.
Just a hit, man. It's a Beyond Good and Evil reference. But yeah, it was. I remember Shitty Web Comics covered it extensively, and it was like this was back in like 2014, 2015, I think, when they were still online, still on Tumblr. But yeah, it was really just awful to read. The art was obviously better, or the art got better. No, I wouldn't say obviously, because in a lot of cases, the art tends to either stagnate in these webcomics or get worse. But Tatsuya Ishida...
Have you ever heard of Drow Tales? That's a webcomic I was trying to remember the name of since we started talking.
I don't know.
I'm sorry, I'll keep talking about Sinfest, but...
Well, yeah, Sinfest, I read some of the first couple of pages, and it wasn't all that great. There was some, like, sort of levity to it, at least, which is a requirement for a comedy comic, but they threw that out the window.
Okay, so Drow Tales is a Dungeons & Dragons kind of comic where the whole gist is that's dark elf lesbians. Mm-hmm. Started out MS Paint. As they start getting patrons and donators, they hire professional artists, it's one of the best looking webcomics out there, apparently. The issue is, the plot revolves around, oh my god, OMG, dark elves are best, also lesbian antics, and it has incredibly detailed art. But the story's just the same, it's still crap. Mm-hmm. And there's even supposed to be a sequel, but they're out in space and something like that, and it's just... The best webcomics, I think, have a simple charm to their art. They have really good humor, good stories.
And they don't rely on lesbian elves to sell.
Yeah, if you want a better version of that, I'd recommend looking up Clumsor, his comic, The Party. It's basically like Dungeons & Dragons, but with sex, like a lot of it, and a lot of big torpedo titties.
Did you know that there was an actual D&D sourcebook that had rules for sex? The Book of Erotic Fantasy. You could get fucking chlamydia in D&D.
I actually got, because I've been playing Skyrim, I got Lost Yargonian Maid Volumes 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. So, how many are there in Skyrim?
I think there's just the 2.
Oh, okay.
By the way, do you know what is the most common online name for Argonians and Elder Scrolls Online? Shakespeare Tale. Mm-hmm. Various spellings of it.
Mm-hmm. It's I actually laughed a little bit at the part about the bread going in the oven.
I love it so much, because you know what I can't help but imagine? This is my personal headcanon. It was written by a dark elf, because dark elves are like the slave lords and hate Argonians, and they've killed our people, and they're savages.
I thought you were going to say your headcanon was that it was written by Todd.
Oh, most definitely. That's actually his old D&D character's name, Shakespeare Tale. God.
Yeah, he's actually secretly a scaly, because he's actually a reptilian.
Him and Mark Zuckerberg meet, they take off their faces. Oh my God.
Who's laughing now? Or no, like when he's writing, he'd be saying, "Who's fapping now?"
God.
The last comic I wanted to talk about was Questionable Content, which WEBCOMICS has actually said they nominate it as the worst webcomic of all time. Not for the reasons you're probably thinking of, but it's so boring. It's one of the dullest, safest comics that's ever been put on the internet.
How safe?
Well, Jeff Jacks, the creator of the comic, he released a page where the fat girl character is in a swimsuit. He got harassed off of Tumblr to the point where he stabbed himself in the hand, and then retconned it to where, and he just lets these people walk all over him and tell him what to do, and just drains out every ounce of edge that it initially had. Yeah,
Like that?
Yeah,
Fucking nice.
yeah. Apparently, the story is that he got drunk and was in such a terrible emotional state that he did that.
The fuck?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just picturing like the Evil Dead. It grabs him, the hand turns like blue with a white T on it.
People were making fun of him, just calling him Hand Stab McGee or something.
You stabbed the wrong hand. Stab the one you draw with.
But yeah, he's like this comic he tried to do. It's it's sort of like this futuristic kind of like hipster futuristic type of setting where it's not even all that. It's not interesting enough to really talk about. The main character has a pet robot who's basically Gur from Invader Zim, except like not even as interesting or funny.
Is it, the secret twist is it's actually a Death World from Warhammer 40k?
Yeah, that's what everybody, anybody who talks about questionable content, they always say, what if this is actually just a cyberpunk dystopia and everybody's on drugs all the time? They just see this sort of utopian setting.
Someone should drop a virus bomb on that planet.
Yeah, the coffee shop they work in, they put chemicals in the coffee to make each
Oh,
other.
it's a coffee shop.
Yeah, there's a coffee shop that the characters work in. Basically every hipster trope you can think of.
Did we have the one where the guy has a sort of mustache and a sort of beard that's not connected?
Mm-hmm.
Says me, but I'm allowed to get away with it because I have genetic fucking facial hair.
Yeah, you got a full beard, so you're...
Oh, cool. But disguised as well.
And you got the plaid shirt, but all you need is an axe, and you pass for a lumberjack or whatever.
I'm sorry, man, but you're is there any attempt at humor?
Yeah, but it's all like I said, it's very bland.
Is
it's
it
very
referential humor?
I can't. Not even that. It's just almost there's a lot of puns in some cases. There's just a lot of wow, that sure was quirky. That sure is goofy.
Oh no, you knocked over the coffee cup.
I think there's references to indie rock as a joke.
Is it the fact that it's indie rock or the joke is, oh, I know that band?
I think that, or there's a point where Martin, the main character, I don't think he's the main character anymore. I think Jeff swapped him out for a more racially or LGBT diverse character.
He was struck by a bolt of lightning and it reformed.
But there's a part where he's trying to pick out a shirt to go to a party to. One shirt's a Godspeed You Black Emperor shirt, which is a post-rock band that I'm actually familiar with. And he's saying, hey, do you like really sad music? Because I sure do. And it only makes sense if you know anything about Godspeed, which is not a lot of people. Only I guess the really pretentious hipster crowd would.
For a brief second, I thought you said Godsmack, and I'm like, oh yeah, is he gonna? The best part of Justice League starts playing.
We're talking about the theme.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually watching a YouTube retrospective on the DC animated universe, and it was pretty good. It reminded me of just how good the series was. It really was the best possible way how the DC cinematic universe should have been.
But the issue is that
Marvel's doing Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
That's the voice of corporate greed.
Yeah, it's they're a good point that the guy made was it seems like DC the DC movies, they almost feel like they're ashamed to be superhero movies.
fucking Man of Steel 2 are just a fucking circus of tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, you're a man from space and you fucking had to break Zod's neck.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Zack Snyder's not a good filmmaker.
No, I think that there are a few good movies in this catalog. I liked Watchmen.
Same, but I feel that the big issue is that now he's
Let me kick it up just a little bit.
or yeah, but like I think one of the issues that I have is that when he does things like Man of Steel, it's fucking Superman. You can't have a depressing Superman story unless you do it well.
Even then, it's like if it's for general audiences who aren't familiar with the deep cuts in comics.
I think Half in the Bag put it best. I want them to play the original da 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 as he's breaking Zod's neck.
Another point I was going to go over was back on webcomics was as I mentioned shitty webcomics, and also like how the reason I remember a lot of these webcomics is I went back through the Bad Webcomics wiki, which was sort of my first exposure to these comics. And going back through them today, they just come off as like these really cynical and bitter teenagers almost, where it's just they're shitting on these terrible comics that don't really deserve the attention or energy to like rant about them. And I was saying how that's sort of indicative of early 2000s or like mid to late 2000s internet humor, I guess, with started by Nostalgia Critic and started by AVGN and then
No, AVGN did it well. Let's just use Nostalgia Critic as the base for bad Rage comic.
Nostalgia Critic's still making videos, actually.
What the fuck is like? All of you alone, is he just sitting in a dark room? It's me, Doug Walker, and there was Rob Walker, and we're gonna be talking. I hope he does it till he's fucking 90.
Yeah, Rob's just a corpse sitting in the corner.
No, Rob's the God Emperor for Warhammer 40k. He's sitting on a life support unit.
That'd be Mike McCaud.
Oh. They're all heads in jars, and they have one robotic body. It's like the He-Man villain that switches his head around.
Oh, yeah. I think the last episode that Doug released was on the Kim Possible reboot live-action movie.
Yeah.
The TV movie, yeah.
Did they at least have a real fucking naked mole rat?
Yeah, I think it's CGI. But yeah, it's like something that not even I'm interested in. I loved Kim Possible when it was on, and now it's like they ruined the franchise. I'm like, I don't really care. Like, there's a lot of cartoons now that I just don't really give a shit about. It's one of the reasons I can't really watch Mr. Renner's rants anymore. It's just like
he should do like really really fucked up shit.
Well, I know that Technocracy is sort of expose or documentary series on like media conglomerates and like Twitter, PayPal, all that stuff. That's pretty interesting to see him like sum all that up. But like when he rants about this SpongeBob episode that came out a couple months ago is bad, I'm like, okay, I don't really care. Like even other cartoon reviewers, they like whenever some of them talk about like bad episodes of recent cartoons, but they make it interesting at least. They sort of look at it from a certain angle and are like, here's kind of what we know about what's going on in the writer's room. Or, I don't know if they go that in depth, but they at least try to do something.
They should have one of those guys who works at a Cartoon Network writer's room just feeding information to people.
And they're like interviewing him, and he's like in the silhouette. He's got this voice blowing out like this.
And that's when they started beating me. Because I said, why don't we have a non-gay gem?
And Dan Schneider took out his 3-inch cock and just started beating me. It was very, very traumatic.
I'm sorry. I'm just picturing that. I'm picturing, Dan Schneider is Nickelodeon.
He doesn't work at Nickelodeon anymore. They fired him for unclear reasons. I can't imagine what it would be.
What? You want Nickelodeon to put in print on a Nickelodeon-related thing, Kiddly Diddler? Kid Diddler?
Yeah, like there's the,
I don't think fucking creep fits in their word count.
what else were we getting? Oh yeah, back on like Bad Webcomics Wiki. I actually found out about shitty webcomics through the Bad Webcomics Wiki just on a whim because I think I googled like bad webcomics. I think that I want to say that this is how it happened. Was Bad Webcomics Wiki moved to a different domain, and I was googling. Or no. It was because I was looking up other sort of bad webcomic reviewers. Because there was also this other review site, the Webcomic Critic or whatever, that was a bit more official looking. So I googled like bad webcomic reviews, and Shitty Webcomics I think was like the third or fourth entry on that page, and I've been following them ever since.
What's this? Click. What's this?
And they're ranting about Muslims. It's like I think they were doing that at the time because like I started following them in 2013, and it wasn't until like 2015 that they stopped talking about bad webcomics and were talking more about like liberals and like just like social justice and saying like according to them it was more about looking at the root cause of like the kind of like what makes bad webcomics or bad webcomic creators, the kind of mindset that they operate in. Specifically Jeff Jacks from Questionable Content and Sinfest.
I'm just picturing them digging too deep and they fall into a giant black void.
Alex Jones is there waiting for him.
Alex Jones is the void. It's just all over his face starts appearing like a texture map gone wrong. Mm-hmm. He's the skybox. Mm-hmm. God. Whenever I have to describe how my characters run, I use the term Alex Jones run.
Uh-huh. I've seen that video. Like one of the comments was that he runs like a GTA protagonist.
I have an orc I'm making for Dungeons and Dragons for my next game. It's gonna be a fucking Alex Jones orc who's afraid of a kobold conspiracy ripping through the mines.
Yeah, but in the long run, I'd say Shitty Webcomics ended up being more interesting.
Yeah,
definitely more like they definitely like broadened their like views and like just they ended up like right now they're sort of attacking Comicsgate and like in the because sorry I lost my train of thought. It was like because like a lot of people who detract against Comicsgate, like they're saying, oh, those are just social justice warriors who don't like the politically incorrect stuff that we're doing. And it's really not the case. It's like, well, some of them are.
If you suck, then you suck.
If you're scamming people, then people are going to call you out on it, which is what Mod 1 and his brother are doing. It's just like, because that's what Jawbreakers did, that's what Cyberfrog did, these terrible comics made by terrible people.
I keep hearing you say terrible in my head, but I know you're not saying it.
It's TRBL, terrible.
God. You know what I think about when you're talking about like anger critics? I remember the funniest critic thing I ever saw. It was called Fanfiction Firing Squad. It was an Ava Geek sub thing where they would take Ava fanfiction and post by post tear the shit out of it. And then I realized it's funny, but it's also autistic as fuck because you need to have an Ava wiki. Like, what's this joke he's making? What's this joke?
You need to have a lot of free time. Yeah.
It also introduced me to Warhammer. Because there's a fucking fanfiction of Shinji and his uncle playing Warhammer 40k.
Yeah, I was editing that episode today. And, yeah.
Fucking Shinji's too pussy to play Chaos Space Marines.
You think it was made by a guy who just really wanted to play Warhammer 40k with someone but didn't have any friends?
Yes, exactly. I think even one person pointed out they're fucking quoting the rule book. They had Shinji just like, but I thought they could only reroll failed saves if you had a fucking Chaos Templar. And it was fucking 4th edition. Guy didn't even play the cool version.
I just remembered, like, talking about questionable content. Like, one of the things that people complain about is that it's just really formulaic, and it's pretty clear that Jeff is just, like, phoning it in. Like, it's almost like he just doesn't want to do it anymore, which is what I would believe in if it weren't for his other webcomic they started after questionable content got really big. I think it's still making, like, thousands of dollars on Patreon per month.
What's the other comic?
His other comic is called Alice Grove, which is like a post-apocalyptic kind of comic, but it has almost the exact same art style as Questionable Content. It just looks really stiff, really boring. And this is Jeff actually trying. This is his passion project, and it's really sad to compare Questionable Content, which he does for his job, and his passion project, and they're the exact same thing.
Cross them over.
That would be that would at least be kind of interesting.
I want to take over writing Questionable Content and just make it a fucking Eldritch horror. Like, have one of the characters fucking kill themselves and have dark entities escape their body.
Yeah, write a fan fiction.
And then fucking break it in. I quit writing fan fiction for one reason. I was like, what the fuck? If I'm writing fan fiction, I get nothing for it. They still have a fucking product.
Well, some people do fan again. This is me.
Out of passion.
Yeah, just out of passion, just to get themselves to write something, and I can at least understand that. If I'm ever stuck in a slump, I'll just draw some anime characters, or that's a strategy that I've tried to keep in mind. It's I try to draw every day, and I don't know, a lot of the stuff that it seems like fan art is a lot more acceptable than fan fiction, at least.
I will say this though, for all the rant I do on bad fan fiction, I'm trying to write for Dungeon Masters Guild, which is where you can use official D&D rules and terms and setting. You can get half of what you make off of it, but you have to live with Wizards of the Coast fucking breathing down your neck like.
Did you cite the correct rulebook?
No, Daddy, no. Wizards of the Coast will fucking wreck your shit. They will wreck your shit like fucking Valve has never seen the shitload they unleash.
Mm-hmm. Or Disney.
Disney and Wizards of the...
Also Nintendo, they're really stingy with copyrights.
Yeah.
If you made a fan game of Mario, it's going to get nuked from orbit in 5 seconds.
Games Workshop will buy your company, sell your men out to Cambodian slave traders, and then kill your dog. Just because you reference something they own.
Mm-hmm. Is that you're just describing the plot of John Wick 4?
It's fucking Games Workshop. Everyone's wearing fucking Warhammer 40k tech priest masks.
I mean, I would love to see John Wick kill someone with a sword or something.
No, what they should do is they should have him fucking kill him with a sword, but they're in a museum full of all the weird African throwing blades, the katana, and he goes room to room using every different ethnic weapon.
Mm-hmm. I just remembered another webcomic. It's actually a fan comic of Skyrim, and it's sort of set in... you're going to laugh at this, but it's sort of structured like Homestuck, where it's each individual page. But it's actually really good. I remember...
Are they book or...
no, it's every page is you have the image and then you have the description under it. I don't think they do chat logs where it's the characters talking in a sort of AIM chat formats, but I remember there was this one really well done page where it's actually encoded into the HTML on the web page. So where the main character is walking down a set of stairs. And when you scroll down the page, the stairs load in, and the character walks as you scroll.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah, and I remember it being a really big deal when it first came out. And
was this 2012, 2013?
This was 2014, maybe 2013. I don't remember exactly when. Mid 2010s.
I'd like to look into this. Oh, I do want to talk about.
It's called Prequel. So yeah.
Do you like modern webcomics and webtoons?
I've been getting into them. The Mel Murray comics that I've done so far, they're on there.
I need an LOV. There was one comic I was really getting into. The gist was it was a skeleton with a floating skull for a head, and he was kind of Hellboy, but he was the gentleman Hellboy. And they had a whole plot about demon babies. I liked it.
Yeah, you remember what it's called?
No, and okay. I have to floating skull Hellboy.
There's another thing I was going to mention. I can't remember. Oh yeah, well, you want to talk about Newgrounds? Were you ever into that?
Kind of. I was into some of their Flash games.
Zone.
Yep. Anyways, I really prefer the Flash games to the art, but I haven't gotten into the art because I was trying to look up a really fucking obscure monster, and it fucking showed up on Newgrounds, and there's this artist who does monster art. Fucking spectacular artist who I favorited but forgot to look up her name.
Yeah, I actually donate. I'm on a monthly donation thing. I donate like $3 a month directly to Newgrounds because I really want to see them improve and get more people. They've been I guess they've had a slight influx since Tumblr shot themselves in the foot and the dick also, but.
Tumblr just shot themselves with a grenade.
Yeah, in the dick and also penis and balls, or however that goes.
They don't have balls. They have little balls, sacks of flesh that they store anime.
They have a Balgina.
Balgina sounds like a real place, like it's a country. Welcome to Balgina!
It's the capital of Bulgaria. I don't know. But yeah, like they've had steady traffic. They're really trying to be the next big thing, and it's really, I think it's encouraging because Newgrounds, Tom Fulp, the owner, he's always been really respectful towards creators of all kinds. And if they start reeling in the kind of traffic that they initially did in the mid to early to mid 2000s, that'll be really great to see.
I remember he had a game that was Russian roulette with Pico. I liked that game a lot. It gave me an obsession thematically with Russian roulette.
Yeah, and also the cartoons. Those are the ones that are like that in the games. Those are the ones that always get brought up when it comes to Newgrounds.
I remember there was one called Zombie that actually got a fucking Netflix fucking release on the fucking Nintendo Wii Netflix. That was a fucking surprise.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it yet. I remember I just put the title card in one of our episodes when we brought it up last time.
Yeah. I'm not sure how well it aged, but it had a fucking zombie, mummy, velociraptor, and wolf zombie fighting an alien, and that's minor spoilers, but not really big spoilers.
Yeah. Well, the cartoons, just from the visual standpoint, they've aged really well because it was all done in the Flash, the Flash anime, I don't know, app or software or when you uploaded it to the site, it was they had you didn't have to process it into an MP or an AVI or MP4 format. It was just the Flash file was directly on the site, and it still is. And it's all the cartoons that were done more than a decade ago. They still look like they could have been animated yesterday.
You know which cartoon I also really liked? I liked all the weird stoner humor that showed up every once in a while. It really is a creator's paradise in a sense.
Yeah. Well, the ones I always remember were the early 2000s ones, specifically the Kill Bin Laden ones. It shows how early I was in the community. Of course, I didn't. I sort of missed a lot of the big ones, when Oni was at his peak, and also Ego Raptor doing his awesome series. I missed those because my mom, she saw me on Newgrounds once, and that was basically the end of that.
I will say one thing. Is that the worst thing you've ever caught you doing online?
No. I got caught looking at porn at least a couple of times, and then I had the talk.
My weird moment, besides, I think most everyone gets caught at porn one time or another. But my weird moment was my friend going, "There's a thing called Bionicle porn. You gotta look it up." And I'm like, and they would take the pieces and make breasts. And
yeah, I've seen those. Yeah.
Well, anyways, I forgot to really exit out right, so my mom, it was her computer. What the fuck? And she said, I didn't ever see those pieces before. And my reader was actually, there's a shoulder piece there, and you just.
It kind of I've seen the designs. It kind of remind me of H.R. Geiger stuff.
Kind of. I really think that they could make an interesting setting of the Bionicle aesthetic.
Oh yeah, and if you put in some Geiger influence in there, you could make a really good animated movie.
Yeah, imagine. Yeah, well,
I remember the CGI one movies.
We don't talk about the CGI ones.
They really were.
Those guys did a Warhammer movie.
Really?
Yeah, it fucking sucks. Which guy's evil? The bald guy, the guy with the helmet, or the guy with the mohawk, piercing tattoos, scars, and wrinkly face? It's about Ultramarines. Ultramarines are you know how Nintendo has Mario? Everyone look at Mario, but everyone really likes Waluigi, or ironically even. Well, Warhammer will shove an Ultramarine. They actually fucking sold for like $10,000, enough to make a full company down to soldiers, platoons, whole units. But you'd have to paint them yourself.
How angry would you be if they made Bionicle movie but made them all humans?
You would be able to hear the nerve in my head that bounces right here snap open, fly out of my skull, and wrap around their face and pop their head off.
I'd probably hear millions of them, like, outside my window.
Bionicle has a really good story.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember the Flash game that they had.
There was a character I was obsessed with. He had a big... I never got the figure because they never fucking sold in Ohio. Fuck you guys. Big guy with an axe, right? Big hands, but he could tell if you were lying, and he killed liars. And then there was his brother Burdock, who was like a teleporter dude with more arms, who there was like this weird chemistry, like, I will kill you, but you haven't yet, because you did not lie.
I remember one of the commercials they did for one of the Bionicle lines. They had Move Along by All American Rejects play in the background. That's like peak mid-2000s right there.
You know, they should have Godsmack I Stand Alone in a fucking Mario commercial.
All American Rejects, I still like them.
I remember they did a good Elm Street cover.
Really?
They did a whole album where it was a song from Nightmare on Elm Street, but done by other people.
Oh, okay.
Korn did Kidnap the Santa Claus.
You're thinking of Nightmare Before Christmas. You kept saying Nightmare on Elm Street.
What the fuck? Can you tell that I have some form of retardation?
Yeah, I had to think for a minute. Like, were there any like standout songs from the fucking Freddy movies?
Are you just picture? I want a picture of a Friday, Nightmare on Elm Street, the fucking musical. You have Robert Englund do like God, that actually kind of fit Freddy fucking Krueger's character, having him do a song and dance number. That's how he kills the gay theater kid. Except the entire Nightmare on Elm Street 2 was actually a gay porno that just had Freddy walk in once in a while. There was more man-ass shown in that movie than the entirety of Space Godzilla.
I can't remember. Did Cinema Snob review that?
I think, but I remember Dead Meat going like, look at all the homo overtones. The director shows up in a lover bar in one scene. By the way, Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla has one of the most shocking scenes in Godzilla history. Basically, you get three guys laying on their back, and you see their asses, and you see Godzilla walk by. But apparently, there's a rumor that in some versions, takes, you can actually see testicles. And no, we can't have the Americans. Tuck it under, tuck it under. Anyways, back to webcomics.
Yeah. I didn't write down many other webcomics. There was actually one that came to my attention just like last month, because I follow this page on Facebook called DeviantArt Spaghetti Gallery. Just posts like cringy stuff that you'd probably expect from DeviantArt. But one that they posted was a page from the webcomic Jack, which is a furry webcomic that was made by a guy. It was made by like this guy. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but this was back in like the mid to late 90s, and like the first page, like the page that they posted was the first page of his school shooter comic. There's basically just this guy, and these are all like anthropomorphic animals, or like
what animal is he shooting up the skull?
It's a dog, I think. Maybe a rabbit. Rabbit's the main character of the whole Jack webcomic, though. But like the main plot of Jack is like this aborted fetus is sent to limbo, and this Grim Reaper bunny guy, he takes the fetus kid under his wing, and they sort of go off on these like.
I hope it looks like a photorealistic fetus at all times.
Yeah, it's kind of like terrible furry Spawn in a way.
Oh. You're implying that normal Spawn isn't terrible and has furries in it.
Yeah.
I hold to it that the creature Tremor is someone's persona. Not really first. By the way, I do want to talk about Tremor because he needs to be in more fucking shit. Picture Spawn, okay? He's the alien hellspawn, and he's a fucking bounty hunter. Is that not badass? And Spawn cut off his hand, so he made a metal hand out of a metal that kills hellspawns, despite the fact he is a hellspawn.
As long as we're talking about terrible furry webcomics from the 90s, I should bring up Sabrina Online.
Oh, is that the one that's really fucked up?
I don't think so. It's like this. It's basically a. I think it started in like '96, where it's like this furry skunk girl, kind of inspired by the skunk cartoon girl from Tiny Toon Adventures, based off of Pepe Le Pew. It was Fifi La Fume.
Oh, Fifi La Fume.
The purple skunk girl. And like she seems to be like the one that a lot of the 90s furries tend to latch onto. But Sabrina Online, that ran like until like 2014, so like almost 2 decades. And it's really interesting to go back and see like how different like these comics were, like in terms of like eras, I guess.
It was the end of a 90s series.
Yeah.
Furries.
And if you're getting into like 90s furries, that's where it's really interesting. That's where that subculture was really starting to, I guess, galvanize. I don't know if I'm talking out of my ass right now because I don't know that much about furries. I only know like cursory knowledge. Never went to a rainforest convention or whatever. Or whatever.
If you knew there was a furry convention, would you go to the general area to see hell break loose?
Yeah.
If there was a psychic who told you rainforest...
I hate that it didn't. It took me like just a second.
I'm sorry, but you know how it goes. You see a train derail, you want to watch.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's like Donnie Darko. You know that plane's gonna crash.
Which also a movie that also has a guy in a bunny suit.
Wasn't it Bruce? No.
That wasn't Bruce Willis. You're thinking of 12 Monkeys.
No, North by Northwest.
No, yeah, you're thinking North. Yeah.
How did I fucking mix those movies up?
I mean, Bruce Willis isn't a bunny suit.
Can you picture that crossover? Fucking crossover. Oh, I hope the guy who did Donnie Darko writes the script for the next Minions movie.
Oh yeah, that'd be neat. He just takes stuff from they wrote in the whole script and like.
That's actually the origin. The electric space hammers.
Oh yeah, the spark plug hammers.
The spark plug hammers created the Minions.
It's hard to remember what those were called because it's like described in such a way that it's like that's not what that is. It's like a spark plug doesn't look like that, and it's like it serves like no real. I don't know. We're getting back on that again.
Yeah, but
Yeah, watch our other episode where we talk about
There's going to be a bubble up in the corner probably.
Yeah.
Why am I pointing to a corner that you won't see?
Uh-huh. What else? Oh yeah, there was another webcomic on the Bad Webcomics wiki that I skimmed through. It was the Nice Guy comic.
Oh, is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's literally called Nice Guy comic, and it's about exactly what you think it is.
Is it ironic?
No.
I'm sorry, I'm about to throw up in my mouth a little bit.
Literally, the one comic that they put on the article is the main character, our main quote-unquote hero. He's like with his friend who's a girl. She's like, oh, I'm so glad I'm connected. Like, it feels like we're really connecting. My boyfriend. And then the rest of her dialogue is blah, 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 blah. And the guy is just going, and it's like boyfriend, and the boyfriend is all like written in blood and all that.
Boyfriend.
I have a boyfriend. That just makes me think of Chris Chan. Like, I never want to hear you say I have a boyfriend.
Oh, by the way, one of my friends is making a list of music that she's gonna have played at her funeral as a joke.
There's actually a grunge album.
I know about that.
Gwange.
I downloaded it.
Yeah, it's actually pretty not bad, I'd say.
My favorite one is they did his unsung song "Revive Zordon" is a parody of Cat Scratch Fever, and it sounds fucking amazing.
I just realized. I wonder if the reason that they picked Gangsta's Paradise for the Sonic trailer is because of
Chris Chan?
Yeah, Trollsta's Paradise.
I hope so. I hope that they have like a part of Sonic's world, and you see fucking Sonic Shoe in the background. Yeah. Just a yellow. I want to see if they can let that shit fly.
Yeah, or if it's like it would be like Sonic getting back to his home planet, and like he's addressing a crowd of Sonic OCs. And like in the middle back row, there's
You have like Sonic. He has to have some form of striped outfit, like his shoes are striped.
Yeah. Do you think that they're gonna fix Sonic's redesign?
No, they're gonna say they are. Like, look, we gave him a shoe, we gave him a glove, we gave him a glove.
Yeah, we made his eyes just a little bigger. That makes it better.
God, let's just be happy that they didn't give him paws on his feet.
I really just feel bad for the animators having to go.
Can
back.
you imagine trying to design that thing?
Yeah, it's it's
Like what they did with Protective Pikachu, but they had a retard do it.
Yeah, the thing is, like, they get their orders from, like, the studio saying, oh, you gotta make them look like this. And they're like, well, it's gonna look like shit if we do that. And I was like, I don't care, just do it like that.
They won't know the difference.
Then when it looks like shit, then the studio's like, well, why'd you do that? That looks like we heard from the people. It looks terrible. It's like,
That's why I hate trying to critique commissions, because I feel so bad.
no, it's fine. While we're on that, and I guess to wrap it up, we can talk about we can get into the segment where we talk about the creative process.
Okay. You should have like a little musical chime, like da da da.
Yeah. It's like the More You Know theme.
Yeah.
You have herpes. I don't know. Like I don't know. That I think that like one of the parodies. Whatever. Like let's talk about creativity. Because like,
Green is not a creative color. Har har, so original.
I understood that reference. Let me go. I need to tell him. But on the way over here, I was thinking about like how to write a good villain, and the reason I think about that is like another YouTube video I watched was on General Grievous from comparing him in the CGI Clone Wars series to him in the 2D Clone Wars series, which I showed you that video.
That's I want that. I want that Grievous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the reason that's like the 2D 2003 Clone Wars Grievous is so much more compelling is because he actually feels like a really competent and scary villain.
That fucking Batman moment.
Yeah, if you have a villain who's easily defeated, then it's like he's not really a threat. He's more of an inconvenience.
What do you think of a villain that the villain themselves is weak, but they have creations that are masterfully strong?
Yeah, that works with a lot of villains, like Eggman, Dr. Wily, a lot of mad scientist villains.
Lex Luthor?
Lex Luthor, yeah, that's another good one. So yeah, like if a character is more brains than brawn, then that works. If the villain is smarter than the hero, that's a really good trait to have for a villain.
I think when I have villains, I tend to fall on three tropes as a writer for villains. Mm-hmm. I tend to make villains who are the fearmonger, the villain who's you have fallen to my plan, or the villain who is really fucked up and trying to fix her fucked it upness, but fucking it up for everyone else.
Yeah, I think that also works for, like, in the case of a hero who becomes a villain. If it's a hero who's very incompetent at their job and is always being like berated by everyone, then like he's sort of pushed to like instead become a villain. Since like, oh, nobody appreciates me, well, I'm going to just do whatever I want, and what I want is to just kill everybody.
And for Skunk Rock, for example, the villains in that universe, the villains who call themselves villains, are basically the kids who grew up listening to punk rock and like, yeah, fuck the establishment, I can shoot lightning. And then they still work middle-aged jobs, but every night they dress up as a villain and kind of LARP with powers.
Yeah, and I think that is like a really interesting concept. And another one is like choosing how often your villains show up. Like if you want them to be the sort of aloof person who works in the shadows and only appears like whenever he appears, he like kills one of the characters. I think that's how the main villain of the first Gears of War worked, General Ram.
Oh, I fucking love Ram.
Yeah,
Ram and Scar were two of my favorite characters. Ram was just fucking scary to me as a kid. God.
Yeah, like every time he there's the thing about it. Every time he shows up, he kills a main character.
God.
General Ram.
Yeah. It makes me. That was like the boomers. That was their voice.
Boom.
I remember there was actually a really good fan fiction of Gears of War where it's about Emergence Day, and it's set from the point of view of a civilian, and you sort of like is trying to get to a bunker with like 2 other people and then like a Gears soldier.
By the way, I don't. From 3 on, they changed it so that they're actually just people with black lung, that disease. Fuck that. They're an ancient alien race that owns a planet.
Yeah, I like that better.
Yeah. I always like that they're basically the Gears. They are their own enemy. Also, I used to have back when I was at school, I used to draw a character. His name was Boom the Boomer. His thing was that he was the tour guide to the Locust Hive. And you hear ding! You are now at the Emotion Lakes. Boom! And he has a little jar that he collected dips in.
So it's actually a monster can.
Yeah. God. If drinking Monster, playing Gears, that was my stepbrother. And having a pet bearded dragon. I once asked if I pooped. I have a question for you about villains.
Yeah.
What do you think of villains that aren't depicted as a villain until near the end? The twist villain.
I think they can be done well. I think that's... Yeah, there are some examples recently of the bad twist villains. The one I always see is Hans from Frozen, which I don't really give a shit about Frozen. I like there's you ever seen this GIF, the GIF of Olaf, where it's like the subtitle is him going, "I don't give a fuck," where they're like syncing up his lip movements to where it looks like he's saying that.
God, no, I need to.
That's his best quote from Frozen. I don't give a fuck.
Okay, I have an issue with Frozen 2 trailer I want to give away.
Oh, yeah.
She fucking made a castle by snapping her fingers. Now she can't cross running water. Bullshit.
Or maybe the plot is her losing her powers or something. I don't know. Like, they kind of make it look like a superhero movie more than a Disney princess movie.
It looked like a fucking Nolan Batman film with that dark sand.
Oh, absolutely.
I was waiting for... the worst kind of people are those who can't free their own fucking Some people just want to free the fucking castle.
Some people want to see the world freeze.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Elsa! I want Arnold Schwarzenegger to play her dad.
Oh, that'd be neat.
He's her real dad. He's a frost giant.
You think that... what do you think about that new Terminator movie that's coming out?
I'm down. I like Terminator. I even liked Genesis. I like dumb movies sometimes. I need schlock.
You hear about the director saying how the movie is going to scare the fuck out of misogynists or whatever. Yeah, how do you feel now?
Slightly less enthused. I'm down.
Yeah, I think he was talking about the main character, though, saying, we picked someone who's purposefully androgynous. Doesn't this shit in your Cheerios, male misogynists? And we're all like, I don't really give a shit.
No,
did you see how badly the Men in Black movie did? The international.
Was it good?
I heard it was not that great, but it did just super, super poorly at the box office.
I think it's people afraid of Captain Marvelism. They're afraid of that touch.
Do you think it's that widespread, though? Do you think the general audience is that?
No, I think it's the vocal majority.
Vocal minority, or do you think?
I think it's still this movie sucks. Someone else heard, my friend Antonio told me it sucks, so I'm gonna go and watch Marvel again.
Yeah, you see, the people who are angry about this, there's I think there's just as many people who are angry at the people angry at it.
By the way,
see it out of spite.
I am going to watch Hellboy now that it's on Netflix.
Okay. Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Huh, I might too.
Oh man, I only remembered it existed because I was playing Brawlhalla and they added a Grok and Nimoy and a tiger at Hellboy.
I was actually reading some of The Wild Hunt, which I think that the new movie is somewhat based on.
Is there a pig in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's based on that then.
Okay.
His name's pronounced Grok.
Yeah.
It's Celtic.
And in the comic, he has a really interesting backstory, which I won't give away. I don't know if they. I don't even know if they get into that in the movie. I haven't seen it yet, so.
Maybe I did know one thing. That there is possibly gonna be a Dragonette movie based on a helicopter and shark, which died out. It was found in fucking Ohio. Woo woo. That's the Ohio champion.
Another thing is that I actually reinstalled GTA 5. And it's funny because, like, I didn't even know about this, but they just added in GTA Online the casino where you can spend actual money to get in-game currency, which seems a bit sketchy. It's like the first thing I think of is like it seems sketchy at first. It's like
It's basically loot boxes.
it is, and the more I thought about it, yeah, I think that is the case. Because I think about, there's gambling in New Vegas. It's like you don't pay actual money though to gamble in the Gamora Casino and that. It's all in.
Imagine. Well, there was a shit ton of New Vegas DLC,
Yeah,
but it was good DLC. It
was
changed the game.
yeah, and it wasn't something you had to keep paying to get.
It's not surprise mechanics.
It's not. Yeah. Whenever I hear that quote, I always think about Mr. Burns holding the mystery box. Because somebody pointed out, you could always. When is EA? Was it EA?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I think that EA needs to get somebody who doesn't sound like Mr. Burns to defend them. I imagine she's fired by now.
Oh yeah. They fucking took her out in a back alley and whipped her and fired her.
Yeah, they put 2 bullets in the back of her head and labeled it a suicide.
Well, it's a semi-automatic, guys.
But the GTA just makes me sad now. It's been 6 years since GTA 5 came out.
Imagine if they make a GTA 6, but it's set in the 70s and it's awesome.
I was thinking about that because they haven't done a GTA in the 70s yet.
Yeah, and you could have a song, Mungo Jerry's summertime song, and they're playing it, and you play as a fucking young Trevor.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, he'd be
but
about 20.
Yeah, but they're not going to do that. It's just going to be set in modern day, and you're going to have to pay for DLC in the single player, and they'll have an online component where you have to pay monthly to use.
Maybe they should make a new IP for Rockstar. Maybe a Bully 2.
Oh, that would be neat.
And it's fucking, you call it Bully 2. Semper Fi, because they send you to military school.
Yeah, but in order for them to start making good games again, they need to start losing money. That's the thing with these AAA studios.
You gotta give a little to gain a little.
Mm-hmm. And I was actually looking up that game made by one of the leads on the GTA series, Everywhere.
Yeah.
The more I read about it, the less enthusiastic I am about it. Because, there's barely anything that's up to. There's not even any concept art. It's just a concept right now. So.
The game I'm excited for, I've been looked into, former Assassin's Creed devs are making the game where you play as a hominid. And the best part of the game they have is it's fucking brutal as shit. Your monkey gets his leg bitten by a crocodile, then a wildebeest beats you to death. You have to unlock the ability to get into new territories because you're so fucking scared of the unknown.
You know what I would like to see?
What?
A skateboarding action game.
I had this idea of making a super high-tech punk-inspired game where basically, this is my concept, there's a nanite explosion, and kind of like Static Shock, a bunch of people they're basically cyborg monsters. And you could have this component where you'd grind around the city, kind of like Sunset Overdrive, but every boss would have a very stylistic gimmick, one guy was on a motorcycle, now he's a centaur, basically.
I think even the template for my pitch would be Jack 2, how you had the hoverboard, and you could get off to shoot people, or you can drive by on a hoverboard or whatever.
You'd be cool if you hit a button and you could hold it up like a shield in midair.
Oh, that'd be neat. Yeah.
You could even do the Guardian parry from Breath of the Wild. By the way, I'm going to 100% the game on Master Mode. My fucking bane of my existence. Remember the Guardian parry trick? If you just do you know it?
Yeah.
They fucking change it. Yeah. You can get one good parry, and then they do things where it's either they'll do one where it's it takes 10 seconds, and then one beep, just tiny one. Then they will fucking hit you with 6 lasers in a row. And if you parry that shit, it's like you just you just took a hit of something good. If you don't, Link will be crawling away with a bleeding anus as the guardians surround you. Hyrule Castle is scary again. But yeah.
Yeah, that's another game that I've been meaning to get back to eventually. I've still got a lot in my backlog, but
The backlog.
not to mention like having like this show to edit, this like my comic to do, your commission, and probably future commissions in the future. Redundancy is redundant after all. And then, and I'm also wrapping up my drawing class, which has actually gotten me back to drawing pretty consistently.
Thank you, I'm sorry. I have a fidget on me because I can't stay still.
Yeah. But I think that now is probably a good time to wrap up.
All right.
And I've been Tony,
I've been Zach.
and this has been the Monkey Bar.
Vote Dobson.